You went all day without sugar. You saw cookies at the office. You watched other people eat lunch desserts. You said no every single time, and it was easy. Then you got home and ate one cookie, and suddenly, the box was empty. You didn't plan to eat the whole thing. You were going to have one, but something happened after that first bite, and the rest disappeared. By the end of this, you will know exactly why skipping entirely takes less willpower than stopping after one, and it has nothing to do with your character. This is not random. It happens in a clear pattern. You can ignore the bakery window all week. You can skip dessert at dinner with zero effort. But the second you take one bite, the rule collapses. One cookie becomes 5. One handful of chips becomes the entire bag. And the strangest part, the all-day refusal felt easier than the moment you tried to stop at one. Here is what is actually happening. Your brain does not treat 0 and 1 as points on the same spectrum. It treats them as two completely different operating modes. 0 is a command. 1 is a negotiation. When the rule is 0, your prefrontal cortex can automate the answer. No decision is required. The question does not even fully form. But the moment you say yes to one cookie, your brain switches from automatic refusal into active moderation. And active moderation is one of the most energy-expensive things your brain can do. Every bite after the first one requires a new decision. Should I have another? Should I stop now? Is this the last one? Each of those micro-decisions burns through the same mental resource that got you through the entire day. And here is the critical part. That resource was already low. You spent it all day saying no. By the time you got home and said yes to one, you had almost nothing left. So the system that was supposed to stop you after one cookie was already running on empty. That first bite does something else. It does not satisfy the craving, it triggers it. The taste of sugar hits your reward system and lights it up. Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of more, not in response to what you just ate, in anticipation of what comes next. The first cookie is not the meal, it is the appetizer. And now your brain knows the main course is available. This is why moderation feels harder than abstinence. Abstinence keeps the reward system quiet. Moderation wakes it up and then asks you to fight it. You are not fighting the cookie. You are fighting a dopamine system that just got activated and now expects a full reward. And you are trying to fight it with a prefrontal cortex that already spent most of its fuel earlier in the day. There is a second mechanism that makes this worse. It is called the what the hell effect. Your brain was holding a rule: no cookies today. The moment you ate the first one, that rule broke. And once a rule is broken, your brain does not see the difference between breaking it a little and breaking it completely. The goal already failed. The day is already lost. So the internal logic becomes, if I already ruined it, I might as well finish the box. This is not you being dramatic. This is your brain resolving the discomfort of holding two conflicting thoughts at the same time. I must not eat cookies. I am eating a cookie. One of those thoughts has to go, and it is easier to abandon the rule than to stop mid-action. This is not weakness. This is your brain trying to escape cognitive dissonance. Holding the rule and breaking the rule at the same time creates mental noise. Finishing the box removes that noise. Your brain is not sabotaging you. It is trying to return to a stable state. It just picks the path of least resistance, and in that moment, eating the rest of the cookies is less resistance than stopping. Now add one more layer. The cookies are engineered. They are not random food. They are designed at a molecular level to maximize something called the bliss point, the exact ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that triggers the biggest dopamine response while bypassing your natural satiety signals. Your brain is supposed to tell you when you have had enough, but processed food is built to skip that signal. The reward comes instantly. The fullness signal takes 15 to 20 minutes to arrive. By the time your brain gets the message that you are full, the box is already gone. So you are not fighting one cookie, you are fighting a dopamine system that got activated, a prefrontal cortex that is already depleted, a rule that your brain perceives as already broken, and a food product that was chemically engineered to make stopping as hard as possible. Moderation is not a small ask. It is a sustained neurological effort in the hardest possible condition. Skipping all day does not require that effort. Skipping is one decision at the start of the day. After that, it runs on autopilot. No negotiation, no repeated choice. The answer is already set. Your prefrontal cortex does not have to activate every time you see a cookie. It just replays the same answer: no. That answer costs almost nothing. It is a bright line. Your brain likes bright lines. They are cheap to enforce. But one cookie erases the line. Now every moment is a choice. Now your brain has to actively decide, over and over, whether to stop. And it has to make that decision while the dopamine system is screaming for more, while the rule feels already broken, and while the prefrontal cortex is running on fumes. This is why the person who skips cookies all day is not more disciplined than the person who eats one and loses control. They are using a different system. One system is cheap and sustainable. The other system is expensive and fails under load. This is the reframe. You did not fail at moderation because you are weak. You failed because moderation is one of the hardest things the brain can do, and you tried to do it at the worst possible time with the least possible fuel. The all-day refusal was not easier because you were stronger in the morning. It was easier because refusal and moderation run on completely different neural pathways. One is a standing rule. The other is a live negotiation. You were good at the first one. The second one was set up to fail. The person who ate the whole box had enormous self-control all day. They just had it in a mode that does not transfer. Abstinence and moderation are not two levels of the same skill. They are two different skills. You can be extremely good at one and terrible at the other, and that is not a character flaw. That is how the system works. So why is skipping all day easier than stopping after one cookie? Because your brain treats 0 as an automated rule and 1 as the start of an energy-expensive negotiation. The first bite does not satisfy a craving. It activates the dopamine system and collapses the inhibition structure that kept you safe all day. Moderation requires continuous decision-making with a depleted prefrontal cortex while fighting an activated reward system. Abstinence requires one decision at the start and then costs almost nothing. The person who finishes the box is not weaker than the person who skipped it. They're just operating in a different mode, and that mode was always going to be harder.